Weird.
Mysterious.
Kind of like a clover leaf shape.
Kind of like that, kind of like a 3-leaf clover.
Huh. Okay.
Did I mention there were fragments of human bone found in there too?
Yeah, that's why we were talking about the human bone.
Yeah.
And the cremators.
Yeah.
Pulverizing your bones.
Yeah.
There's some guy with a ball peen hammer.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that. If they just take it out to the parking lot and.
No. They don't. That's not how they do it. Yeah.
No, they actually
You think
have.
they would? It's kind of messy.
No, they have something equivalent to the ninja bullet juicer that you have in your home on a much bigger scale that they shove those big chunks into to break them up.
You would think they would just do 2 big plates.
That would work.
Crush.
Yeah.
So okay, sorry. So we're
actually, you can take them to the dump.
We're a little off track here.
Oh yeah, we are totally off the dump.
Did the cops get called at this point?
Of course, yeah. The police were called.
The police weren't called before they cooled it down, though.
I think they were called actually right away.
Okay.
So, but of course, there wasn't much they could do.
When Harry got to work the next day and didn't find Sally.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they called him right away. They might have actually just had a company-only search around, and then eventually when they couldn't find him and they discovered there was a possibility that somebody had died in a mishap, then they called the police.
That's smart, I guess.
Yeah. And a local deputy sheriff, his name was Victor Corelli, said that of the keys that were found, one of them was to Dave's car. Another one they believe was to his house, but they couldn't tell for sure because it was bent and damaged, and so they couldn't really confirm that. And then apparently 3 other ones went to padlocks, and that's about all they know about the keys. And the keys caused a little bit of consternation for Harry Easterling because he'd seen Dave's keys. Yeah, a little odd, don't you think?
Because we just heard that he saw the padlock unlocked on top of.
Yeah, with the keys in it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that he'd seen them on the morning of the 19th. 2 hours after 5:15, when the temperature dropped in the furnace, Harry had seen them on the toolbox. And then
when
the next day,
clocked out.
Yeah, and then the next day when he comes back to work, they're still there sitting on the toolbox. And yet 3 days later, they're found in the furnace. Yeah, which is a little strange.
That is a little strange.
Yeah, I think so.
I agree.
Yeah. At this point, so what the authorities knew was that Dave Box was missing. They also knew there was evidence that somebody had wound up in a furnace in Plant 6.
Something had ended up. They didn't know at that point. Is this the initial or after they'd cooled the thing off?
This is like after they cooled it off.
Okay.
And after they cooled it off and pulled stuff out of there.
Okay,
yeah,
got it. I thought you were saying when they initially showed up.
Yeah, but there was evidence that there was somebody in that furnace. Beyond that, they really didn't know much. So the local coroner's office wouldn't sign a death certificate because there was a lack of evidence that David died. The sheriff's department was treating it essentially as a missing person case, and they kept the file open. But everybody kind of believed that Dave had died in the furnace in Plant 6. Question was, well, how and why? Was it an accident? Did Dave commit suicide? Or was he perhaps murdered? Yeah. Members of Dave's family have said they're sure it was not suicide. Of course, they often do. But his daughter said that David bought groceries for the week. He paid all of his bills. He was planning a vacation with his kids.
Casey, that's her name, right?
Yeah, Casey, yeah. On the other hand, Dave apparently did have some issues. Apparently, around the time of his divorce, he did attempt suicide, and I'm not sure how serious an attempt we're talking about here, but apparently.
I was going to ask that.
Well,
if there's any record of, did he shoot a gun and barely miss himself, or did he do the cry for attention?
Yeah, take
attempt?
some pills. Take some pills and call 911.
Or badly scratch himself with a safety razor on the wrist, kind of. There's a full spectrum. Not that I'm belittling the act of trying to take your life, but there is a spectrum, and we don't know where he falls in that.
Yeah, some people are a little more hardcore about it, a little more determined to get the job done. But I don't know. But as for the murder theory, and the family does think that it was probably murder. There's no one really with any motive. Dave was a nice guy, apparently had no enemies, except, of course, as I mentioned previously, the Fernald plant did have some issues with environmental quality. And so Dave's family has suggested that perhaps he was going to talk to somebody, perhaps the press, about the situation and maybe be a whistleblower. And so they're thinking Dave was murdered to shut him up.
Interesting.
And so we have essentially 3 theories. I'm going to throw a 4th one in there too later on, but some fun ones. Well, not really fun, but
that's a weird application of the word, but I'll accept it because we do it all the time.
All right, it's morbid, but yeah.
Morbidly fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, our first theory is it was an accident. Dave fell into that furnace. I think.